Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse and to our next episode in our Cheap Trick series. Today I'm joined once again with Ryan Gavalier from Ryan's Vinyl Destination, and we are looking at 1983's Next Position Please and 1985's Standing on the Edge. Often referred to as Next Producer Please, this album pairs Cheap Trick with producer Todd Rundgren. Standing on the Edge reunites the band with Jack Douglas in what was supposed to be a return to form, but things didn't quite go as planned. This is where the Cheap Trick catalog starts getting questionable, so buckle up and enjoy the ride. Next month we will be looking at The Doctor and Lap of Luxury. But before we get started, let's look at some upcoming and current programming on the channel. Upcoming this week, we've got a panel discussion and review of Big Country, The Crossing. So we're just going to go through this record, kind of dissect it. I have a feeling that this Big Country series may go on, so stay tuned. Check out my interview discussion with Jim Bocci, audio engineer, musician, member of Fuzzbubble, Hitman, and the Tiki-Aki Orchestra. We discuss tiki, power pop, guitars, the Blue Hawaiians, and everything under the sun. Also, next month, Tom Fox joins me to take a look at our top 2 favorite tracks from the first Morrissey albums. Stay tuned for the next episode in our Beach Boys series where the panel reviews and rates selections from the Beach Boys catalog. The next selection, 1972's Carl and the Passions. So stay tuned for that. Please like, subscribe, you know the thing. Let's get to Ryan Gavalier and to Cheap Trick. Mr. Gavalier, nice to see you. How are you? I see you're wearing the colors. You're wearing the colors tonight.
I am.
You are hardcore. That's what I like about you.
Yeah.
So, what's new? You ready to talk some Cheap Trick tonight?
I am. Just got done listening to these albums again, right. Taking some notes, putting on my colors. I'm ready to talk some Cheap Trick.
What can you do about that? Well, the first album we're going to talk about is Cheap Trick's album Next Position Please from 1983. And this record was produced by Todd Rundgren. So if anybody's heard this record, you can obviously tell it was produced by Todd Rundgren because it's got that trademark Todd Rundgren sound. Some people may like it, some people may not. But this album kind of has a combination of like old tracks. We'll talk about that. And some newer tracks. Are these newer tracks as good as what came before? Who am I to say? But I bet Ryan has an idea on it. So let's get started. Like I said, this is produced by Todd Rundgren, Ian Taylor. Came out August 15th in 1983. Recorded in December of 82. Up at Utopia Sound where Todd had his studio. Should be interesting because this is where I shouldn't say that. One-on-one, I think things started to change, but we see big changes here. So let's turn it over to Ryan and get his opinion on it, and then we'll jump it over to me and we go back and forth. So, Ryan Gavalier, let's hear what you got.
All right.
Oh, and by the way, Rolling Stone Record Guide gave this 2 stars. Keep that in mind. I don't think that's quite fair, but seriously, let's turn it over to Ryan to see what he has to say.
I'll say I don't think that's fair either. But I think they gave Dream Police like a 3 out of 5 or something. It was one of those.
They gave Dream Police. They gave it a 3.
Yeah. So obviously Rolling Stone doesn't know what they're talking about. And I will say this. Preparing for this episode, I was a little bit stressed. All right, Arnett, Byron, I'm actually about to bring that up. Okay, so
we can look at kind of both of them, but I don't know. Whatever you want to say. I'm going to review probably. This is what I've got. I've got the original Epic CD, and I believe that's the 14-track version.
Yeah.
So we could talk about that. But, Ryan, we can talk about whatever you want to, because I don't think it's going to change a whole lot of anyone's opinion. But this is what I've got. I don't have the what do they call it? The band authorized edition? I don't know.
Authorized edition. And yeah, so I'm going to start off by this. I don't own a copy of this album. I don't own a copy of Standing on the Edge. I may get a copy of these albums because I like them. They're not as good as what came before, but I do like them.
Right.
But I will say one thing. I will definitely not be buying that authorized edition because it's way too long. 16 tracks for a 1983 hard rock album, 58 minutes. No way. Like, that's a joke. And the other thing that they did on that is they switched the sequencing of the album.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Dancing the Night Away is the closing track on there. And it's like, it's really weird. But I made a playlist of the original album for 14 tracks of CD cassette because the vinyl version is 12 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if you look at it as the 12 or 14 track, this is a pretty good album. There's some stinkers on it, and I will talk about those. Sometimes when I have trouble formulating my opinion on an album, I need to break things up. So I made a great tracks list, a good tracks list, an okay tracks list, and then songs that could be completely thrown away. And I only had one throwaway track on here, a few okay tracks, few good tracks, and then actually more great tracks than I thought. So first of all, starting off with I Can't Take It. That's a great track. This song kicks ass. I mean, it's brilliant pop, a good chorus, great riff. I think the production works perfectly on here. It has kind of like an old 70s power poppy type of feel to it, which, if you know me, I've been all about the power pop recently and always, but especially recently. But yeah, this is just a really, really cool track. I love the guitar sound. It's not loud. There's really not much loud guitar sound at all. I actually said to Grant, where the fuck are the guitars on this album? Because they're very subtle, but I think it works really well on some of the tracks. And this one is one of those. Just really catchy song, awesome. Another one that I thought was a great track is Next Position, Please.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this song. And you said it's from the Dream Police era?
They demoed it during Dream Police, and they all took so Rick, Robin, and Tom rotated vocals.
Okay.
If you go out on YouTube, you can find a version of it. It's off a bootleg. I don't know which bootleg, but if you go out on YouTube, you can find a lot of bootlegs of Cheap Trick. And I'll tell you, it's much improved over what came on Next Position, Please. There's another track that I'm going to talk about later about that. But yeah, go out and check it out. Anybody who's interested, just look it up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I mean, I do like the version on here. I think this is one of the tracks where the Todd type production works really well. Mm-hmm. I think the chorus is super cool. It's really, really catchy, kind of like a little chaotic. You got like all the voices together and stuff. I think I like the verse a lot. Kind of delivers kind of a punky vocal performance. It almost sounds a little Clash like to me, and I really like that a lot. And I think the production works really well on that one. You Talk Too Much is another one I had on my great tracks list. I said it's heavy. It sounds just like classic Cheap Trick.
And I want to add, Ryan, while you're on that track, that was a song they demoed in 1980.
Yeah.
I shared that with you on my Facebook page. If anybody's friends with me, go to my Facebook page and I put that track up there. Again, you've got to hear the 1980 version of it. It smokes. I mean, it's got Rick Nielsen, real Rick Nielsen guitar on it, Ryan. I mean, we're talking, you know, what you want to hear. You know what I mean?
Well, that was the one thing I said was a fault on this track is that for as heavy and as good as that riff is, it really could have used a bit of a boost. It's like, I don't know. Todd, I love you, but not always the right decisions.
But
and
this
that was one.
But this album was done during that tortured artist effect. So if you listen
Yeah.
to Todd Rundgren's Hideaway, it's that same damn Ovation 12 string sound where he's taking it and running it through an amp. And that's the problem with this record, is that it's got that sound throughout. And when I listen to a Cheap Trick record, I want to hear some heavy guitar. You know what I mean? You want to hear Rick Nielsen doing his thing. It almost sounds like, well, this could be like an outtake off of Tortured Artist Effect or maybe a Utopia album. I know that might be a little critical, but it doesn't quite have that heavy. At least One on One had heavy guitar on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that Roy Thomas Baker
Mm-hmm.
did a good job with the guitar sound.
I
And
think I
overall with
think he
the
did too.
production, I think that it's more so the songwriting that makes the album a little bit less memorable than some of the
Mm-hmm.
others, even though it's still good. But yeah, You Talk Too Much I had on my great songs list. 3D I had on my great songs list. I think this is a really quirky song. It's energetic, kind of heavy. I like the backing vocals on the verse a lot. Initially, it was kind of annoying to me, but as I listened to it more, it grew on me.
Mm-hmm.
And good riffing on this one, too. Y-O-Y-O-Y. Love that
It's a
track.
great
It's a
track.
great songs track. Catchy, moody, cool production. I love the vocal melody. It gives me chills. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
has a familiar sound to it. I can't quite pin down what it is, but it definitely sounds like something else to me. And it gets my heartstrings going though. I like that song a
Well,
lot.
Ryan, I think it also has that Beatle-esque type of thing going for it.
It
I
does.
don't think Y-O-Y-O-Y is that much. It almost could fit on All Shook Up to some
Kind
degree,
of.
because it doesn't stray that far away. But yeah, I agree
Yeah.
100% with that pick.
Oh yeah, and then my last great track on the album is Don't Make Our Love a Crime. I really like that one. It's hooky, good riffing, excellent chorus. It's real poppy. I think this album has some great pop on it. Um and I think it's a pretty solid closer for the album. My
Yeah.
good tracks, I had Borderline. It's kind of has like a Roy Orbison type of feel to it, like a real vintage type of feel. I think it's okay. It doesn't quite stand out compared to some of the better tracks. I do think it improves as the song goes on, though. It gets a bit more detailed. But right off the bat, it's a little bit off putting. I Don't Love Her Anymore. I also had as a good song. I thought the riff was pretty decent, but not quite as immediate as some of the other songs. Heaven's Falling is another one that has a good track.
Mm-hmm.
I said solid. It has a good vocal performance by Robin, especially in the verse, but I did think the chorus is a little bit cheesy on that one. It's still
Oh my
catchy though.
God. I don't know. I find it very infectious, but it's also a Todd Rundgren song.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. It's just not the best. And then my last good track is Invaders of the Heart. I thought it was a good energy, but
Mhm.
not overly memorable. Okay tracks. I said Younger Girls was one of them. Um, it's kind of stonesy. It's decently crafted, but the lyrics are pretty cringe, honestly, and it couldn't really make it into my great songs list for that. But Dancing the Night Away, I said was okay. I think it's a bit too Todd for the band. It's a little bit annoying for me, and I think it goes on too long for what it is.
Dancing the Night Away wasn't Todd. That was Ian Taylor. Todd
Oh,
didn't want anything to do with that track. So they
oh,
got the engineer that engineered One on One, who worked with Roy Thomas Baker.
really?
That track, even though it does sound very Todd like,
It
yeah, but
sounds like
Todd was
Todd.
going, and that was put on there by the record company. Record company wanted that on there. They thought that would be a hit.
I think it sucks. I mean, it's okay.
Well,
It's pretty
I can
annoying.
I can understand on the authorized version they would push that to the end, because I don't think the band was even for that song at all. They just went, oh well, okay, we'll record it. But
I'm
Todd didn't want
surprised.
anything to do with it.
I'm surprised because that sounds like a real Todd track on here.
Uh-huh.
But Won't Take a Note for an Answer is another one that I said was okay. It's a
Mm-hmm.
cool verse and main riff, but the chorus, it gets a bit too over the top for me. I don't know. I think once in a while Robin goes into that kind of hammy
Mm-hmm.
Roger Daltrey type of sound, and that's kind of on here. Like not good Roger Daltrey, but when he goes a little too over the top, and that's this track for me.
Oh, yeah.
Um, then my throwaway track I said was You Say Jump. I just thought this track was really annoying. Also sounded very,
Mhm.
very Todd like to me. And I like Todd, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if he was the right fit for Cheap Trick. We'll put it that way. And I don't really like the vocals at the beginning. They're very like compressed and weird sounding, or the riff. And the chorus is pretty cheesy for me. But I didn't like it. I could see why there would be some appeal with the song, but it really was not for me. And I said overall with the album, there's some really great stuff, some mediocre material. Definitely not as good as the first few albums, but I think it is a bit better than One on One.
Ooh.
I think the production is hit or miss, and I don't think that Todd was the right fit for the band, but the songwriting and occasionally great production moments saved the album as a whole. I gave it a 7 out of 10 or a 3.5 out of 5.
Whoa.
I think it's
Holy
solid.
crap. Look at you. I'm impressed.
I don't agree with All Music giving it a 4. But that's their opinion. I think that's a little high for it. But I did see a lot of people saying it's one of their favorite Cheap Trick albums. I'm not going to get there, I don't think. I think it's good though. Like it's right where it needs to be, like middle of the road from what we've heard so far.
Mm-hmm.
I possibly could see myself putting it on a little bit more than All Shook Up, but I think All Shook Up's a better album. I'll put it that way. I think there's some really good moments on here though, and some really catchy stuff.
I think that you've got All Music giving it a 4. I think maybe the record is aged over the years better than some of the other ones. Because think about this though. You've got Todd's production, which is, well, it's Todd's production. This sounds like a Todd Rundgren album. You've
Yeah.
got some Todd productions where it doesn't sound like a Todd record. Like, are you familiar with the Canadian band, The Pursuit of Happiness, who had this album Love Junk?
No.
Okay. Came out like, oh gosh, let me think. God, was that 96? I might be really off. It might have been 87. I think it's 87, 88. Total Todd Rundgren production. But you listen to it and it doesn't have this trademark stamp. It just sounds like a good pop record. This sounds like 1982 Todd Rundgren, what he was doing on Tortured Artist. Same production. I mean, you could have swapped out Robin Zander's vocals and put Todd on here and it would have been a Todd record. Maybe that's being a little harsh. But
I get that, and I also do think that the album might be a little bit too long. I mean, it's 48 minutes, this original version, which isn't much longer than Heaven Tonight or Dream Police, but I also do think that those albums were all killer, no filler, so you don't realize how long it is. This one's a bit uneven for me, so I think that if you cut off, let's see here. I'm not going to say cut off Younger Girls because it's not a bad song. I just don't really care for it.
That's fair
But
enough.
I would say if you cut off Dancing the Night Away, Won't Take No for an Answer, and You Say Jump, you'd probably have a 4.5 record on here. Because I think the other material is really solid. I think those songs just really drive it too long. And if it had been like a 35-minute album, kind of like I think One on One's only like 35 minutes, and so is All Shook Up. And then In Color's 31 minutes. make the album as long as great material you have. Don't push it any longer than it needs to be. I think that's one of the main things. And then the fact that on that authorized edition adds another 10 minutes to the album, that's a joke. Like, no. The tracks aren't very good on that authorized edition. I think they're very mediocre. It's like Twisted Heart and then a couple others.
There's another song that I haven't heard that I'll if I can pull it up, I'll mention it. But Byron says he likes 7. He agrees with the 7 out of 10.
Yeah. You know what? 48 minutes. I wonder if that 48 minutes is the vinyl version or if that's the CD version. Because I know they were saying bonus tracks.
Well, there's bonus tracks on here.
So the 48 minutes might be the vinyl version. So that's 2 less tracks than what I mentioned.
I mean, they don't mention bonus tracks. Maybe they do on the liner notes on here. But
yeah,
the bonus tracks on here I like a lot.
I do too. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. 7 out of 10. I think it's solid. Excellent. I'd buy it. I probably will be if I find it for a good price. Like, I'm not going to spend like 10, 15 bucks on it. But if I find it for like $5, then I would.
It's never, as far as I know, and someone could correct me, it came out in Europe, I think. It might be on the box set. I don't know. I know it's never been released individually. You know, like the other Cheap Trick remasters that they did in the 90s. You know, they stopped with All Shook Up. And the rest of the catalog didn't get one. Even though Next Position Please had, it got the treatment. It was remastered. But it's never gotten a release like the other ones have, as far as I know. It's just been digital.
I've seen it on vinyl. I've seen it on vinyl before. If I see it again, I'll snag it. It's a good album, and I could see it growing on me a bit more, but I don't think I'll end up liking the tracks that I said I don't like.
Right.
I don't know. It's good.
Yeah. All right. Good review. Star, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Ernesto. Star. Byron, for showing up. I don't know if we could do a show without you guys showing up. It just wouldn't be the same. So let's jump to my review. Now, I've known this record forever. I saw them on this tour. They played the Ohio State Fair back in the day, and I went and saw them. And this was a great gig. I'm just going to tell you what happened while we're talking Cheap Trick. So we got there early. They're set up, but they're doing their sound check. So Robin Zander and Rick Nielsen, they yell out to the audience, who's there? What do you want to hear? And the whole crowd just, they're yelling whatever. And the band goes, okay. So they started into Highway to Hell. They played all of Highway to Hell for the sound check. It was incredible.
Wow.
It was funny. They go, oh, so you want to hear Highway to Hell? Okay. They just played it. It was awesome.
Nice.
It was unbelievable. But that tour, when they played live, it was great. What do I want to say about this record? Well, like I said, we've got the Todd Rundgren production. We don't have any traces of Tom Werman anymore, which I think has that trademark sound. I think you had a little bit more of that trademark sound with Roy Thomas Baker. At least those songs were heavy. You still had that Rick Nielsen guitar. This is much lighter. I've seen some reviews comparing this to In Color, but In Color's heavier than this. This is all Ovation 12-string run through a guitar amp. So there is no, I would say, trademark Cheap Trick sound that I want to hear. When I hear Cheap Trick, I want to hear pretty much what they sound like live. And that's why I was saying, check out, they're out on the internet. They're demos. You can get a demo of You Talk Too Much, which was from 1980-ish. and you can go out and find the demo for Next Position Please, which they all trade off vocals from Dream Police. Another song on here that stems back from like 1976 era when they were playing bars as younger girls. Now, Bunny Carlos put out his Bunny Bootleg series. Ryan, are you familiar with any of those? There's like 5 different CDs that he was selling through. I can't remember if it was through the Cheap Trick website or through Bunny's website. They pressed like 1,000 copies or something, or 100 copies. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But they pressed a copy. I think it was called Cheese Head, or I don't know. It's them playing in Wisconsin from 1976, and they're playing Younger Girls. Now, if you can search it out too, search out the live version from 1976, because it's, what can I say? That song, when you hear it really done up properly, if Tom Werman could have got a hold of it, or Jack Douglas, I'm telling you, if Tom Werman or Jack Douglas could have got a hold of any of these tracks, it could have been a lot better. Some of the songs that I think fare really well for Todd's production. I think I Can't Take It is wonderful. I don't think I change any part of it.
Mm-mm.
It's a no-brainer why that's the opening track. Borderline, I don't think they wrote Borderline, but I could be wrong. I don't have that in front of me. Someone knows, put it, if you can let me know.
I'm looking it up right now.
But it's not bad. I don't think I change it anymore. I Don't Love Here Anymore. I don't think it's too bad. Next Position.
Rick
Please.
wrote it.
Okay. Next Position Please. I'd rather have that 1979 version. Younger Girls, I'd rather have the 1976 version. Dancing the Night Away, I really don't have any use for. You Talk Too Much. That's another one. That was from 1980. There's a demo of it from like 1980, and it's incredible. That's the one I posted on my Facebook page, but it's on YouTube if you look for it. Look for You Talk Too Much demo. And it's hard, heavy Rick Nielsen that you like. You Talk Too Much could have fit right on. It could have fit on probably the first album. It's like that type of production or sound. I believe Ryan said you like 3D. That's one of the weaker ones. I don't mind it. It's okay. It's not too bad. You Say Jump. It's all right. Why, oh, why, oh, why, I think is absolutely brilliant. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't change anything about it. Won't Take No for an Answer. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. Heaven's Falling, Todd Rundgren song. It sounds like it could have been you on Utopia Oblivion album. You just swap out Todd's vocals or put Chasm on there. You've got a great Utopia track. The funny thing is about that, I'm surprised he gave that to Cheap Trick to do. Yeah. I don't know if there's a Todd Rundgren version floating around, but I'd like to hear it. There might be a Todd Rundgren version somewhere. I don't have to look that up. Invaders of the Heart. I like that. I think that's fine. Don't Make Our Love a Crime. For some reason, that seems like it should be on All Shook Up, but it's not. I think it's okay. But that's the original version. Yeah, I wanted to say that You Talk Too Much is a bonus track on the cassette and CD, and Don't Make Our Love a Crime is a bonus track on the cassette and CD on the original. But yeah, for the most part, I think a lot of the songs have potential. I think sometimes the Todd Rundgren production gets to be, I don't know. I get tired of listening to that Ovation 12 string from 1982. It sounded okay in 1982, but now I think it kind of sounds dated because it sounds kind of like a fake acoustic, it's that sound that people use with the piezo pickup and they run it on stage. That's all fine and dandy, but I don't particularly want to hear it used in this situation. I'd rather hear Rick Nielsen in all of his glory. But I think pretty much the songs, I mean, there could have been if there could have been different production choices, I think it could have been better. I think I would give this record probably a solid. I couldn't give it a 4. I guess I'd give it a 3. Do I like it more than One on One? I would not. I don't think that I do. I'd give it a solid 3, I think. You might have given it a little bit of, how would you give us 3.7, 3.5?
3.5.
I
I
think
think I
that's
gave
fair.
I gave this a 7. I gave One on One a 6.5.
Do you still
So
think 101's a 6.5 or a 7? I
I
mean,
think it.
do you still rate it where you would rate it after listening to this?
Yes, I like
Okay.
this one more than I like One on One. I think that even though One on One's heavier, I think the songwriting on this one's probably a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
because I can't really tell you too much off of One on One that really like sticks in my head. But there's a few songs on here that have been kind of sticking on my head
Mm-hmm.
all day. So I think this one's a little better. I wanted to ask you, so
Mm-hmm.
we did the U2 series
Right.
and they had albums where there was multiple producers on it. Obviously,
Right.
this one had 2 producers, although Ian Taylor,
Well, yeah.
you know, but what if this came out
Mm-hmm.
or they did an alternate version where there was a couple different producers, like Tom did a couple tracks and
Mm-hmm.
Jack did a couple tracks and then Todd still did some of the poppier songs.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that would fare? Do
I
you think
think
it
it
would?
would fare better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really for me, Todd's production only bothered me on the songs that I didn't like. On the songs that I did like, it didn't bother me too much.
Interesting.
The Ovation acoustic didn't kill me too much.
It killed me when it came out. I thought, oh,
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but it doesn't kill me, but I think that Todd made some good production choices on here. Like I can't take it. That's brilliant, that
mm-hmm.
production. I think he works really well on some of the poppier songs on this album.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Heavy though, not really.
It's not heavy, and it's lighter than In Color. And In
Although
Color,
I've
I never really considered it light. I just considered they were great pop songs, you know.
picture 1976 Todd doing this
Uh,
production though,
uh,
because
I'd
Faithful
rather
came out that year. That was
the,
some heavy guitar sound on that
that
album.
would be better. I'd rather
Yeah.
picture 1976 Tom Werman,
Well, yeah, of
but
course, but
whatever, it's fine. We can't change, what's done is done. It is what
I
it is.
like it.
I'm
I
glad it
like it.
exists.
Me too.
I'd rather have it than not. I might be really harsh on it, but there are way more records to be harsh on. This record is absolutely brilliant to what comes after. You
Yeah.
have to agree. Okay.
I had to
Byron's,
make sure my
yeah,
scale was in line with
I
what will
understand.
come later.
Exactly. Byron, I have an MP3 of them playing Highway to Hell. Yep. I think that's on the Bunny Carlos um, bootleg series. Star, I just had to mention when I saw Cheap Trick in Jersey last week. Oh, that's right, you were going. Rick Nielsen didn't play the show, but in all honesty, I have to say it was one of my least favorite shows of theirs I've seen. But I've heard that Robin's son was filling in, and he did a great job.
Oh yeah. I mean, I saw them with Rick playing, but Robinson did a pretty good job when he
Mhm.
sang what was it? I'm trying to think of what song he sang.
Oh, he did sing something.
I'm trying to remember.
Uh,
Uh
he didn't do the Tom Peterson. No, Tom Peterson were there. He would done. He would have done. I know what I want.
I don't remember.
I don't know what he
But
would have sang, but doesn't he sound like Robin though quite a bit? That's what I understood.
yeah, he did a really good job, I
Yeah,
thought,
that's cool.
but I'm trying to figure out what he sang. I'm mad that I don't remember what it was.
Okay, Ernesto, this came out in '83. It probably didn't sell as much Because look at the bands that came out with a record that year: Quiet Riot, Def Leppard. Well, yeah, true. I don't think Cheap Trick was ever in competition with those bands either. Um, I think then they were still considered a 70s band. They hadn't been commercialized by
He
Epic
sang
yet.
he sang Downed.
Oh, I bet that would be great.
It was good.
Star agrees with Ernesto, and Ernesto thanks Star. I love this. Everyone's so polite. 1983 was a great year for hard rock and heavy metal. His son did a great job, but it was definitely an off night. Yeah. Yeah, there he sang down. Hey John, how are you? Nice that you came on.
John.
We appreciate it. We appreciate the love.
Yep.
So there we go. We've got a 3 for me and a 3.5 from Grant Arthur. Well, let's move on to Standing on the Edge. So Standing on the Edge was the 8th studio album. And it came out on Epic in 1985, produced by Jack Douglas. Now, the whole concept with this was we bring Jack back. We will go back to the roots, make a traditional Cheap Trick album. I mean, on paper, that is a beautiful idea. Absolutely beautiful. Problem is, Jack Douglas was in a lawsuit or something to do with Yoko Ono from the Double Fantasy shit sessions. I don't know. He got pulled away. So they brought in I'm going
Jack Platt, I think his name is. Something
Tony
Platt. Tony Platt, yeah.
Who was also producer mixer. And Tony took away all the acoustic drums, put in drum machines. So it didn't end up being the same album they thought it was going to start with. But I must say, though, Standing on the Edge did reach 35 on the Billboard chart.
Mm-hmm.
Was there for 18 weeks. And that's probably because of the strength of the song Tonight It's You.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested to hear what Mr. Gavalier has to say about this one. Take it away, Ryan. Let's hear what you have to say.
All right. So I did the whole same concept for my notes where I
Mhm.
had great songs, good songs, okay songs, throwaway songs. I actually want to start with my overall, though,
Okay.
that I wrote. It's like my overall look at this album. Some great material on here, but it is a mixed bag of songs and production. At times, the slick production works okay, especially on the ballads, but other times it makes you forget you're even listening to Cheap Trick. Rather, it could be any of 1,000 bands from the mid 80s. It is an album that has grown on me with multiple listens, but it's still the weakest we've reviewed by Cheap Trick so far. So with that being said, when I first heard this album, I was like, oh no. And it just like really, really hurt my soul. And then even now, going back to listen to it again to review this, the first time I put it on again, I said, oh no. And I think I texted you. I said, well, now that all my hopes and dreams are killed, I'm just going to go listen to the Raspberries again.
That was probably a good idea.
It was.
A good idea.
But I will say, I sat down with the album some more, and I don't hate it. I don't love it, but there is some good stuff on here. So, first of all, my great songs. First one, Tonight It's You. I said the production works better for this song than Little Sister because it's the second song on the album. It's slick but beautiful. Really awesome verse with a great delivery by Robin. The chorus has a good energy to it, and it gives me chills. And I actually do like the acoustic guitar sound on here. I think that this album kind of benefits from that acoustic. It helps some of these arrangements. Another song I thought was great was Love Comes. Another beautiful ballad. The production works well. It's one of the more tender Robin vocal performances we've heard so far, and it's just a moody and gorgeous track. It seems like the ballads are some of the strongest parts of this album so far, and I think because the production isn't quite as chaotic as some of the other songs, um, and I think the guitar and the keyboards on the song sound really, really good. Um, you know, when I look at albums where I feel like the ballads are kind of what carry it, you have to put in context what kind of a band we're looking at. And I think that Cheap Trick being a so far traditionally hard rock, power pop type of
Mm-hmm.
band, it is a bit strange for the ballads to really be the strongest point. But I do think that there's a couple other songs on here that I did have in my great songs list. First of all, How About You? Um, I think this is one of the better rocking tracks on here. There's a good guitar sound. Verse and the chorus are super catchy. I do think the OOOs at the beginning and throughout the song are a little bit annoying, but I don't completely mind them. I think the rest of the song is so strong that it doesn't quite bother me. And I do like the little weird guitar sounds during the verse, like that and stuff. That's kind of cool. And the last great song on the album is Standing on the Edge, the title track.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is such a good song.
Mm-hmm.
The production is kind of slick, but it doesn't bother me because the song's still super heavy. And there's catchy riffs on here. Robin sounds real badass. He goes all in on this song. And I think the chorus is literal perfection. Even the bass gets a decent representation on this song, which we haven't really seen on this album too much. We get a lot of bass drum or bass electronic drum, but not much bass sound. And I think on this one you get a good whiff of that. And the drums actually sound better on this track than a lot of the other ones, maybe because you actually hear some bass that it's not quite as rough. And I actually really like the piano on this song as well. And I do think it's some of Rick's best riffing we've heard on this album, probably the album before. I think there's some really good guitar lines on here. Now, good tracks. I said Little Sister's a good song, awful production. There's no separation of the instruments on this song except for Robin's voice. That's the only thing that has any distinction. The rest of it's a big muddled mess. But the song itself is so strong that I didn't put it into a lower ranking because I think the chorus is real catchy, the verses, and there's actually some pretty cool guitar fills. I mean, they kind of blend in everything else, but if you really listen, they're there.
Mm-hmm.
This Time Around is another one I had as a good track. I said it's an inoffensive song that really shines in the chorus. The verse isn't overly memorable, but does have a good mood to it. And I don't know, the production's not bad on this one. I think it's solid. I actually think that there's tracks on here where the production doesn't completely kill me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just certain ones where it's really, really bad. Cover Girl, I thought had a good energy. Tasty, real tasty riffing on this one. A solid verse and chorus, but not quite up to the level of some of the better tracks. And it is good pop, though. And once again, the production doesn't bother me on this track. Now, my okay tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Rock All Night.
Mm-hmm.
I said cheesy lyrics, bad production, and a bit too hair metally. That bass drum is so loud on this song. It feels like I just put on like a Poison album or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Mm-hmm.
some tasty riffing though by Rick on this one. I think he sounds great on it. The electric drums are way too high in the mix though, and it's hard to hear any bass outside of the bass drum. Then Wild Wild Women is another okay track. I said Cheap Leopard question mark. Um I said it's not awful, but the production isn't great, especially the drum sound. And the song is pretty generic and boring. A bad closer, too. I would have much rather had Love Comes as the closer of the album. Spread out the
Yeah,
ballads. Don't have them both on side one.
I agree.
Then my throwaway track, She's Got Motion. Oh, this song is so bad. It's so bad. It sounds like it could have been a million different 80s bands. The riff is cringe-worthy. That guitar sound is so annoying on here. And the lyrics and vocal performance aren't much better, honestly. And what a stupid chorus, too. It's so annoying. And I think the production sounds schizophrenic and chaotic. The book, especially with those terrible backing vocals, they're real scattered and annoying. I just said blah about this song. It's horrible. Probably the worst Cheap Trick song we've gotten so far. But I already said my overall. I think there's good stuff on here. I think there's some okay stuff, some not so good. But I don't hate the album. I'd probably buy a copy of this one too. It'd have to be real cheap though. Like if I find a vinyl copy real cheap at a store, I'll pick it up. But I'm definitely not spending like money for a new CD or new record on it. But it's a solid album, and I would listen to it again on streaming before I find a cheap copy. I think it could grow on me over time too. I just think that at times some of that production just really kills it. But I gave it a 3 out of 5 or a 6 out of 10. It's not a bad album. I still enjoy it, especially the ballads and a couple of the other songs. But terrific ballads on this album. And like I said, Standing on the Edge and How About You are real great rockers on here as well. Solid album. I like it.
Okay. Good review. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Well, so I have an original copy of the CD. I don't know if it is or not. Let me show you my CD. Oh, Byron says he gives it a 6.5 out of 10. I mean, that's fair. I think that's fair. Well, here's my CD. Well, there's the insert. I bought this when it came out. This is the CD that I took when I sold the guitar to Rick Nielsen in 1986. I was going to show this to people. I pulled it today, but this is the CD they signed. So there's Robin's signature. Rick, it says thanks for the SG. Even though it was a 1961 Les Paul Jr., but it looks like an SG. John Brandt's signature. And there's Bunny's signature. They were all cool. Got to hang out in the trailer, watch the show from backstage. But yeah, I've had this since 1985. There you go. I don't know if I don't know how many they press. Well, 1985, you could buy it. I do want to thank Tony Platt for ruining the record. First of all, I want to extend a congratulations for ruining this record, because I think if we would have had Jack, it would have been a lot different. Now, I want to mention this before I do my review. If you get this Cheap Trick, the Epic Archive Volume 3 on Real Gone on Epic, on this CD right here, which is, there's 3 CDs. If you are a Cheap Trick fan, you got to have the Cheap Trick box set, and you've got to have these. Because there's stuff on here that it's got Up the Creek on it, for God's sakes. You've got to have Up the Creek. Anyway, but on that version, they've got the Jack Douglas mix of Little Sister without the fake drums, without the keyboards. I swear it could have been a song that could have been on the first album, for all that matters. So go check that out. Hear what it really should have sounded like before Tony Platt ruined it. And then She's Got Motion, which Ryan hates, but there's a Jack Douglas mix of it on this CD. I recommend you to go check that out. Now, also on this, it's got the single version of Tonight It's You, which I'm not sure exactly. It might be shorter. It might be like the single mix. I'm not sure. But either way, I highly recommend this CD if you really want to hear what Standing on the Edge should have sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have that version. We've got the Tony Platt version. And even though Little Sister's on here, I loved Little Sister when I saw them in 1986. I think they might have opened with Little Sister. But then again, you've got Cheap Trick opening and you've got Cheap Trick playing it live. So it's a totally different song. It has no studio keyboards and 1980s drum sounds, and it's pure. It's Cheap Trick the way they should be that the way they should sound. One of the songs that doesn't bother me though is Tonight It's You. I think that song's perfect the way it is. The other thing I want to mention, this is like the first album that had outside writers on it too. Mark
Mm-hmm.
Radis, I think, how you pronounce his last name. He pretty much co-wrote most of the tracks on here. So this is where, this is where the record company started getting involved, Things are really going downhill now. She's Got Motion. Yeah, I agree with Ryan on that. But Love Comes is a good song.
Oh,
How
yeah.
About You's good. Standing on the Edge, I'm in total agreement. That's really a great song. I would have loved to hear the Jack Douglas mix of that. I don't know.
Yeah. I do kind of like the 80s production on this, but I think that Jack probably could have done a better job with that song too, because it's Jack Douglas.
Right. Rock All Night. I mean, that's fine. Cover Girl. That's Rick Nielsen and Mark Radis singing a lot of these songs. It's Xander Nielsen, Brant, and Radis that wrote most of this stuff. There's only like one Rick Nielsen song, and that's Little Sister. And the fact that it just has the writing credit of Rick Nielsen makes me think that Little Sister, I wonder if that's an old song because it could have fit on something else. Cover Girl, Wild Wild Women. I like pretty much half of it. I'm going to give this yet another 3 out of 5 or 6 out of 10, I guess. I mean, I don't think it's any. Well, sometimes I look at. I don't know. Ryan, you've got me really thinking about this. I don't think. Maybe if this had the proper production, it could have got a higher rating. I think I would have to. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna change my rating based on this record. Now, I think I'm gonna stick with a 3. But Next Position Please, I think I'm going to get a 3.5 because I think Next Position Please is a stronger record.
I do too. I think that if this had better production, though, this would probably be the better album. I think the actual pure songwriting of this album is much better than Next Position Please.
But the production kills it. So there's that argument. What's better, the songwriting, the production? What can kill a song? I think there was a Contrarian episode, maybe. I know Martin Poffbop might have covered it somewhere in the past, or hell, we might have talked about it. I can't remember now. But it just goes to show you that maybe the songs on Standing on the Edge might be stronger, but the production is so horrible that it kills it.
Yeah. I think with the proper production, I could like this more than One on One, Next Position Please, and possibly All Shook Up. I don't know about that because I like All Shook Up quite a bit, but I do think that these songs have some serious potential. I think some of the songs meet the potential. I don't think everything about this album is bad. That's why it got a 3 for me. I think some of the songs are fine the way they are. I mean, those ballads, I think they sound good with that slick production. A couple of the rockers sound pretty cool too, but I think some of the stuff definitely gets hurt by the production.
Yeah, so yeah, go on Spotify and listen to those epic archives. They're great. 9.99 on Amazon. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. I mean, a lot of what's on one is duplicated on the box set, but they just give you enough extra stuff to make it worthwhile.
Mhm.
And I think if you're a Cheap Trick fan, if you're not, what the other, it just depends. If you're hardcore, there's some great stuff on there though. Great stuff, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, you get into this period, and I think Cheap Trick still had great songs, but the production just overpowered them, drained the life out of them, you know. Because Little Sister, man, is a freaking powerhouse on the archive series. Jack Douglas, if that's what Jack was going to do with the record, could have been a great record.
Yeah,
So check those
definitely.
out. So that's what I'll give it. I'm going to give Next Position Please 3.5. I'm going to give this a 3. It could easily have surpassed Next Position Please, but I know the one thing I wanted to add is that when this came out, we used to play this at the guitar store and I worked at it all the time. But we would like play it through like when you work, well, I don't know, you work at a guitar store, when you're playing music, usually you're playing stuff through like a PA system because that's what we've got. So we'd have like a tape deck and a PA or whatever, and we would play this. Hell, I might have brought a CD player in it then because, maybe not. But we would play this, and the CD mastering on this, I don't know if the more recent remasters or the box set sounds better, but this is a really, what's the word do I want to use? The mastering on this is, it's, I don't want to use the word tinny. It's very kind of thin,
Mm,
and there's a lot of high end on it.
yeah.
I don't know if they ever did a proper remaster. It wasn't part of the remaster series, so I really don't know if there's one album in the Cheap Trick catalog that could use remastering, it's this.
Let me just say what's on Spotify right now does not sound much better. Like I said, you barely get any bass guitar
Okay. Well,
on
then
the
it's probably
Spotify
the same
version.
one. Sounds horrible. Uh, for anyone, if you're looking for the vinyl of it, I think you're probably better off finding the vinyl because I think it probably sounds better. I've got a copy, but I haven't A-B'd it in like 1,000 years.
Hmm.
But I would probably recommend getting the vinyl if you can find it because it's going to sound better. Either way, it's going to sound better than a tin. I mean, this was horrible mastering. Ooh,
Mm.
but whatever. It is what it is. It is what it is, you know? So there you go. Another episode knocked out of the park. So next month, we're going to look at The Doctor and Lap of Luxury. Now, I can just go ahead and tell you The Doctor is just a hideous record. So it's going to be a lot of fun to listen to that one. Actually, it's not. You thought this was bad. The Doctor pumps it up even more because guess who's the producer on that?
I don't remember.
Tony Platt.
No.
Exactly. It's horrible. The Contrarians, they did a Contrarian episode, but what one did they say was the Contrarian pick? I
I
thought
don't
there might
remember.
have, I think they chose All Shook Up, but as the best, but I don't know if that it's
As the
not the best.
best?
Maybe. Don't quote me. I don't think it's the best. That's a contrarian choice.
Bullshit choice, but
Great choice. Great show. Thanks, Ernesto. Love me some Whoa! Byron, you love the Doctor? Mm. Wow, I can hardly wait for your comments on that. Well, anyway, guys, we hit an hour. Well, we're at 59:58. Under an hour. Johnny Music Night. All Shook Up is the best. They picked Busted as okay. Well, I don't think Busted is the worst. There's some great stuff on Busted. And actually, some of the production choices on Busted don't make me want to jump off a building because I think Busted sounds a hell of a lot better than Standing on the Edge, production wise. But it's still in that era. So, things don't come around until the Cheap Trick album in 97. So, well, anyway, there you go. Anybody have anything else to add in the chat? We're going to finish this episode up. I think it was a great discussion. I appreciate Ryan Gavalier coming on. Is there anything coming up this week that you need to throw out there to the crowd?
Yeah, just one thing. First of all, my channel's Ryan's Vinyl Destination. And the one thing I want to plug real bad because I've been working my ass off on it.
Plug away.
This video. It's the first episode of a series that we're doing with my friend Davy and I. It's called Zero the Hero. It's about movies that have 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the first episode we're doing is on the movie Jaws the Revenge. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got some real funny videos that I made for the video. I've probably watched this movie like 12 times in the past couple months, probably more than the editing crew actually watched it. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun making it, and we'll be going live on Thursday at 8 p.m., I believe. So come check it out on Ryan's Final Destination.
Yeah, everybody go check out Ryan's channel. Make sure you check it out. Of course, everybody probably here in the chat knows all about it, but for the people that aren't in the chat and watch this later, make sure you head over to Ryan's and subscribe. And while you're at it, subscribe and like my channel for the hell of it.
Yep.
So it's all about peace and love over here. All right, man. Well, Ryan, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I appreciate everybody watching. And we're going to wrap this pony up. And there you go. Yeah. Everybody have a good week. And we'll see you on the next one. Tomorrow night. Oh, yeah. On Contrarians tomorrow night.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
I will be planning for that Jaws episode with Davy, our last meeting.
I don't know who's all on there. I don't know if John the Music Nut's on that tomorrow. I can't remember who's on it. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you.
See you guys.